A major shift is unfolding inside the global technology sector, and the latest signal comes from one of the most influential software companies in the world. If you value independent reporting that cuts through corporate spin and tells you what's really happening in the tech industry, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Stories like the one we're about to unpack are shaping the future of work in America and across the world. Atlassian, a company best known for tools used by millions of businesses. Products like Jira and Confluence power software development teams, project managers, and corporate workflows across the globe. But now Atlassian is making a move that says a lot about where the tech industry is heading next. The company has announced it will lay off roughly 10% of its global workforce. That means about 1,600 employees are losing their jobs. At first glance, layoffs in tech are no longer surprising. The industry has seen waves of job cuts since 2022. But this announcement carries a deeper message, because Atlassian is not shrinking. It's restructuring. And the reason is artificial intelligence. The company says the layoffs are part of a broader strategy to become what executives are calling an AI-first organization. That phrase is starting to appear everywhere in Silicon Valley. AI first. Not AI assisted. Not AI enabled. AI first, which means artificial intelligence isn't just a tool anymore. It's becoming the central operating system of the modern tech company. And that shift is now starting to reshape the workforce itself. As of June 2025, Atlassian had nearly 14,000 full-time employees. More than half of them were engineers and designers building software products. Now, roughly 1,600 of those roles are disappearing. The layoffs are spread across the world. About 640 employees in North America will lose their jobs. Another 480 workers in Australia are affected. Around 250 positions will disappear in India. And smaller numbers of cuts are expected across Europe, Japan, the Philippines, the Middle East, and Africa. This isn't a single office closing. This is a global restructuring, and it comes directly from the top. Atlassian CEO Mike Cannon-Brookes explained the decision in a message sent to employees across the company. The explanation was direct. The company is changing its internal structure so it can invest more heavily in artificial intelligence and enterprise sales. In other words, money that once paid for certain roles will now be redirected into AI development. The goal, according to the CEO, is to strengthen financial resilience and fund the next generation of AI products. But inside that message was something even more revealing. Because Cannon-Brookes outlined 3 groups of employees he believes will remain the most valuable in this new AI-driven company. 3 types of workers who are considered safer from layoffs: strong performers, recent graduates, and employees with transferable skills. That list may sound simple, but it tells us a lot about what companies now want from their workforce. First, strong performers. No surprise there. High-impact employees who consistently deliver results will always be valuable, but the other 2 categories are more interesting. Graduates and people with adaptable skills. Let's start with graduates. Right now, there's a growing fear across the job market that artificial intelligence could wipe out entry-level jobs. For decades, new graduates have entered industries through junior positions. They learn the systems, gain experience, and gradually move into more senior roles. But AI is starting to perform many of the tasks that once belonged to junior workers. Writing reports, analyzing data, drafting emails, generating code, building presentations. Tasks that once required a team of entry-level professionals can now be handled by software in seconds. That has raised a serious concern among economists and workforce analysts. What happens when the bottom rung of the career ladder disappears? Research from Stanford suggests the impact may already be underway. In industries heavily exposed to artificial intelligence, workers between the ages of 22 and 25 have already seen a noticeable decline in employment opportunities. The research estimates about a 16% relative drop, and some leaders in the AI industry are warning the disruption could accelerate. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei recently suggested that AI could eliminate up to half of entry-level white-collar jobs within the next 1 to 5 years. Half. That kind of forecast would fundamentally reshape the American job market. So when Atlassian's CEO specifically says graduates are still a priority, it sends a mixed signal. On one hand, the company is cutting jobs to invest in AI. On the other hand, it claims it still wants young talent entering the workforce. Why? Because companies still need human thinkers. AI can generate answers, but it still relies on people who know the right questions to ask. Graduates bring new perspectives, fresh technical training, and the ability to adapt quickly to evolving technology. And that brings us to the third group Atlassian says it wants to retain. Employees with transferable skills. This may be the most important phrase in the entire announcement. Transferable skills. In an AI-first economy, companies are increasingly valuing workers who can shift between roles. People who understand multiple disciplines, people who can learn new systems quickly, people who aren't locked into one narrow job description. In the past, many tech jobs were extremely specialized. A developer might spend years working on a single type of programming framework. A product manager might focus only on one product category. But artificial intelligence is now changing the pace of innovation. Tools evolve faster, platforms change faster, entire workflows can transform in months instead of years. And that means companies want employees who can move with the change. Adaptability is becoming a core professional survival skill. And that reality is quietly reshaping hiring strategies across Silicon Valley. If you find this kind of independent breakdown valuable, take a moment right now to subscribe to the channel. Our goal here is simple. Explain the forces shaping the economy and the future of work without corporate spin. Now let's go deeper into the most controversial part of this story. Is artificial intelligence actually replacing workers? Atlassian's CEO says the answer is no. In his message, Cannon-Brookes stated clearly that the company's approach is not AI replaces people, but he also added something equally important. It would be disingenuous, he said, to pretend that AI does not change the mix of skills needed inside the company. That statement may be the most honest description of the AI transition we've heard from a major tech executive. Because what's happening right now is not simple replacement. It's restructuring. Certain roles are disappearing, other roles are expanding, and entirely new job categories are emerging. For example, companies now need engineers who can build AI models, data specialists who can train those models, security experts who can manage the risks of AI systems, product designers who understand how humans interact with intelligent software, and sales teams capable of explaining these complex technologies to corporate clients. Those roles require different expertise than traditional software development jobs, which means companies are reshaping their workforce, not necessarily reducing it forever, but changing what it looks like. Atlassian's layoffs are part of that transformation, and the timing matters. Just months before announcing these cuts, the company had actually said it planned to increase hiring of new graduates. Executives explained they wanted to strengthen research, development, and engineering capacity. Now, the company is reducing its workforce while simultaneously preparing to invest more aggressively in artificial intelligence. That combination reflects a broader shift happening across the tech sector. Large companies are no longer just building software, they're building intelligence. And intelligence systems require massive investment. Computing infrastructure, specialized chips, cloud resources, research teams, and enormous data sets. All of that costs money, so companies are reallocating resources. The question many workers are asking right now is simple. If AI continues to improve, how many jobs will ultimately survive this transition? The honest answer is that no one knows. But we are starting to see patterns. Routine tasks are increasingly automated. Highly specialized knowledge remains valuable. Creative problem solving remains valuable. Strategic thinking remains valuable. And the ability to work alongside intelligent machines is becoming one of the most important skills in the modern workforce. That's why companies are focusing on adaptability. Workers who can evolve with the technology are far more likely to remain essential. Workers whose roles revolve around repetitive processes face the greatest risk. The layoffs at Atlassian are expected to be largely completed by the end of the company's fourth fiscal quarter. Once finished, the company will move forward with a leaner structure and a heavier focus on artificial intelligence products and enterprise growth. But this story is about more than one company. It's about a turning point in the global economy. Artificial intelligence is moving from experimental technology into the core infrastructure of modern business. And when infrastructure changes, jobs change. entire industries change, sometimes faster than anyone expects. The technology sector has always been about disruption. But this time, the disruption is happening inside the tech companies themselves. Engineers, designers, analysts, and project managers are now experiencing the same automation pressures that factory workers and clerical staff faced in earlier technological revolutions. History tells us that new technologies often create new opportunities, but history also tells us those transitions can be painful. Workers caught in the middle of technological shifts often face uncertainty before the new economy fully emerges. The AI transition may follow a similar path. Some roles will disappear, others will evolve, and entirely new professions will likely emerge that don't exist today. The key question for millions of workers is whether they can move with that change, whether they can learn the skills that the AI-driven economy demands. Because the companies building the future are already making their decisions. They are investing in artificial intelligence, they are restructuring their workforce, and they are redefining what it means to be a valuable employee. The layoffs at Atlassian are not the end of that story. They're one of the early signals, a preview of how companies may reorganize themselves as AI becomes central to modern business. And if current trends continue, we may see many more announcements like this across the tech industry in the months and years ahead. If you want clear, independent analysis of the forces shaping technology, the economy, and the future of work, make sure you subscribe to the channel before you go, because the AI revolution isn't coming. It's already here, and we're just beginning to see what it means.